Are you living your best life as a salesperson or entrepreneur? Or do you find you're working all the time on this hamster wheel of life while stressed out and not financially free, which is the exact opposite of what you had signed up for, especially now in this global pandemic? If this is you, you are not alone. I found myself there in 2008 when I lost everything, including my health, and had to pivot working from home for the first time with no money. I rebuilt my life from scratch, juggling motherhood and marriage to get my life back and be recession and pandemic proof today. Now we live laptop lifestyles with our kids and are poised to travel the world together. How did we do it? Join me as I share my health and wealth and wisdom secrets, tips, tools, and expert interviews to equip you to be recession proof and live your best life. My name is Lois Kofi, and this is Healthy and Wealthy and Wise.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome to another live. If you're tuning in live, I want to welcome you. It is Monday, November 2nd. New month, new week. And if you are tuning in live, you're in my Healthy and Wealthy and Wise Facebook community. So if you're listening to the recorded version, or if you guys happen to share this message with those that you know, like, and trust, and love, and care about, I would greatly appreciate that. And even ask them to join our positive and supportive, Healthy and Wealthy and Wise Facebook community. If you don't already know me, I'm Lois Kofi, professional speaker, podcaster. I've only been podcasting for a few months now. And Healthy and Wealthy and Wise was a name that came to me earlier this year when I was reflecting. I'm a huge fan of meditation, something that I've been doing actually now for, gosh, I forget anymore if it's 4 to 5 years. But one of the questions that I've been struggling with, and today I'm going to get real, right? I'm going to be even more authentic, more vulnerable. Not sure if I'll cry or not, because I've been actually just got off a phenomenal coach call with my coach, and we were talking about this idea of, is it possible to create balance in your life? Is it possible to create balance in your life? And that's something I ask you, and I want to invite you to have a conversation with me, and possibly be even something you have a conversation with yourself about. Is it possible to create balance in your life? And some of you might be like, well, no, it's not possible at all, especially now that we're in this new normal. You got kids at home, you're working from home, get all these distractions, a lot of uncertainty, maybe all of the things, right, that are going on in 2020. Well, I've been really wrestling with this question for a year now, because truth be told, I used to be a huge proponent of balance. Back in my 20s, I started out as a real estate agent. I don't know if any of you knew that, but I started out my sales career at the age of 22. I even hired, I taught this to my coaching program this morning. I taught how to outsource, how to delegate. So you got to delegate to elevate your income. You can't do it all. Ever since I was 22, at some point there was different valleys and different times in my life where I didn't have a virtual assistant or a personal assistant. But at 22 years of age, I hired my own assistant. And it was one of the best things I could have ever done, because right away it taught me that I can't do everything by myself. I got to be able to ask for help. And I got to a point where I was making multiple six figures. I wasn't working nights. I wasn't working weekends, which I know in real estate, right? Occasionally I did an open house on the weekend. Occasionally I would have to be doing, an offer presentation. There was multiple offers. Like the deadline was now. I had to stay up past 10 o'clock at night to negotiate. But those were few and far between. They were so not the norm. And even then, at age 25, I was making all this money. I was doing Ironman triathlons, and I was teaching people twice my age how to value their time off, how to value hobbies and other interests. Well, something happened. Something changed for me about 6 years ago. 6 years ago, I went all in on three things like all at once. And it's easy for me to look at it now like an outside observer and go, wow, I had no idea what my choice was going to create for me. At that time, I decided to go all in on three things. Number one, I had opened up a personal training studio, which, to be honest with you, it was a thought, it was a dream, but something told me it wasn't maybe the right timing, but I did it anyway. My choice, right? I can't blame anyone but myself, all about personal responsibility. I went all in on BNI, became a member and a director almost in the same year. If you don't know it, phenomenal organization, Business Network International, highly recommend it. And then, of course, number three, I went all in on network marketing. So I had this massive plate of all of these things that I didn't say no to. And oh, by the way, I had two small children, husband. You can about imagine what happened. I lost myself. I was spread too thin. And, I talk about the title of my show is about healthy, wealthy, and wise. And it does go back to when I lost my health and my wealth in the Great Recession. And then I rallied, came out of that smelling like a rose, the best health in my life, started rebuilding my six-figure incomes. But then I just layered on responsibility, responsibility, responsibility. And so I went from being that person who was very mentally, physically, and spiritually grounded, healthy, balanced, hobbies, all of the things. And I went into a grindaholic lifestyle. A grindaholic lifestyle. What that means to me, and you all have your own definition of balance. Maybe you don't believe in balance. I'm not here to convince you. Okay, maybe 7 days a week is necessary for you. I'm just sharing with you how that grindaholic lifestyle started unraveling me. So what happened was, and if you're watching live and you want to comment below and say, you know what, Lois, I can so relate, feel free. Or if you're like, I have no idea what you're talking about, and you might hear the kids in the background here. But I was working 7 days a week. I had calls at 10 o'clock at night. I had calls on a Saturday morning. I had calls on a Sunday night, conference calls. I had all sorts of messages and phone calls and texts on the weekends and in the nighttime. And over time, it just became a habit. I even asked a couple of my friends and leaders and peers in these organizations, I'm like, what do you think? Is balance possible? And they said no. So, there's a saying that you are the product of the 5 people that you hang around with. And let's say you wanted to be a millionaire and you started hanging around with millionaires. In theory, right? In theory, that sounds like the right thing to do, right? But are you looking at what else is going on in their lives? Are you observing their other components, health, spiritual, sleep, all of those things? So I got to the point where I believed, and for me, it was a lie. For me, it was a lie. I believed that balance wasn't possible and that I had to work 7 days a week, sometimes 16, 18-hour days to build my dream. And over time, I stopped working out because I had to work on my dream. I lost sleep. Then to add insult to injury, my dad died. And the way I chose to handle my grief at that time, which was not balanced, I chose to work more. And full transparency, as a result of that, I also started drinking more alcohol, right? Those Some people it's soda, some people it's binge watching Netflix, some people it's retail therapy. For me, I was just drinking more alcohol, partially because of the environment and the people that I was surrounded by. But then the other part was, man, I was just needing a way to take the edge off, right? Before you know it, the pounds started creeping up and up. So about a year ago, I really started to analyze my life. And I said, you know what? I think I'm out of balance. And then I hired a coach. I got some more clarity. I got my 12-week year certification. I rewrote out my vision. And I said, you know what? Something's got to change. Because my plate was still really, really full. And it had been, by that time, about 5 years. There was times, of course, that it negatively impacted my marriage, all of the things, right? Just layer after layer after layer. If you or I, in my own opinion, don't have a mental, physical, spiritual balance, balance is like, a balance beam, right? You're walking, and there's this very fine line of being able to stay on the wire or the beam, right? It's easy to fall off. And some people say there's no such thing as balance. There's counterbalance. There's times where this is going to be higher than this in your life. And I don't take away from those philosophies or coaching principles. But to me, balance is, are you focused? Are you healthy? Do you live life coming from a responsive versus reactionary? Are you taking care of yourself and putting your oxygen mask on first? Are you setting healthy boundaries? So that's kind of a lot. I'm not putting like a definition up here on the screen because I want you to come up with your own definition. Like, do you think a balanced lifestyle is possible? So then it got more interesting. Once I started putting that question out there for myself 1 year ago, last month, I hired a coach, got into a coaching program, started working through and peeling back the layers of the onion that had really closed in on me. And then a really good friend committed suicide. This was last December. And that was like, whoa, a wake-up call for me. It got my attention. And still, I had a lot on my plate. I was traveling a lot, wasn't even really able to process her death. And before you know it, my brother died. He was only 49. My friend, gosh, I think she's in her 30s. And I've actually lost a total of 6 people that I knew really well. And of those 6, 4 of them were younger, 60 or younger. And of those 4 youngers, I can guarantee you, if they were on their deathbed, because I know their story, they could do it over again. I can almost guarantee you, and some of them actually told me this, that they wish they didn't take on so much. A lot of that led them to habits that were not healthy, that manifested dis-ease in their body, and facades that perhaps they didn't know how to get themselves out of. So this is kind of a heavy topic, but I would be lying to you. I would be inauthentic if I said life was perfect and rosy. Yes, my income is actually the highest it's been in years right now. But 30 days ago, I drew the line in the sand and I said, you know what? All of these people dying this year and all of the things, money can't buy back those relationships. So spending more time with myself, my kids, my husband, my friend, I really became a crappy friend over the last 6 years because I was working too much. So just being transparent with you, just in the last 30 days, I reconnected the dots for me that I believe a balanced lifestyle is possible. You got to figure out what that definition is for you. I know for me now, it's not 7 days a week of constantly being attached to my phone, being on call to cover or do different things and completely take me out of my element to go serve someone. To me, that's spreading too thin is a people pleasing behavior. And that's something that I have to take a look at. Like, I'm actually not ashamed to admit I'm starting to work with a therapist next week. I had a grief counselor. Now I'm adding a therapist into the mix because I'm like, I really want to stop this cycle that I've had for the past 6 years. So in October, I took Sundays off and I took this past weekend off. And I eased into it, right? I didn't go from one extreme to another. I don't believe in all or nothing anymore. Been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. But I did 36 hours as a start. I resigned from a leadership position of something that I'm doing. I cut out a lot of Zooms that really weren't serving me anymore, that I didn't need to be on anyway. You know, if you have Zoom fatigue, if you're going to every networking event online and it's not producing a return, an ROI, are you measuring that? My coach gave me something to do today, and he's actually going to have me draw out my circle of focus. What is all in there right now? And what can I eliminate? I'm taking care of myself mentally, physically, spiritually. I know that's going to be in there. Those are part of my big rocks. But also, he wants me to track my time, write down on paper what I do. Oftentimes, I plan my day, but I don't always measure every single thing. Like, think about it. How often do you check your text messages? How often do you think you check your email? That all takes time and energy away from whatever you're focused on in the moment. Like, I'm really good at lead generation and getting out a certain amount of income producing activities every day. But how many times do I check WhatsApp? How many times do I check all of the things that we use to communicate with each other right now? That doesn't necessarily make me money. It's because I allowed other people's agendas to become my own, and they weren't really for me. They took me off the beaten path, and it impacted my health, my sleep, my weight. So you probably can't see it, but I'm like 30 pounds heavier than I was 3 years ago. So guess what I'm focused on right now? Besides realigning myself with my version of balance today. It might not exactly even be the same as it was, before 6 years ago. But I implore you to really sit with that. Take a look at your schedule. Take a look at what is most important to you. And when you think about healthy and wealthy and wise and that title, I'm even evolving within that. I called that this podcast and this community, partially I did that selfishly because I know what I've had in the past where I lost my health and I lost my wealth. And unbeknownst to me, I was on that grindaholic philosophy, and I could have easily lost my health, which again would have eaten up my wealth over time. And who knows? It might have killed me, because you just never know what's going on with people. So I wanted to share this kind of somber message today to help you guys know that I've been working through a lot of stuff, and I know you have too. I know you have too. I mean, I've had 2 friends commit suicide. I have had other people die prematurely, and none of these things had to do directly with COVID, but we're in a really weird space this year. And my hope for you is your best health, your best wealth, and your best wisdom. And one of the things I'd like to close with, because I always want to keep these monologues to roughly 20 minutes. One thing I want to, implore you and encourage you to check out on my resources page at loiscoffey.com/resources. There's a $7 product that I posted on there, and it's called the Money Morning. And you might think, well, Lois, you're just talking about money again. It's much deeper than that. It's actually very spiritual, very healthy. It talks about the money now, the money later, the things that you can do to maximize your time, your most non-renewable asset. Once you get this hour gone, you can't get it back, right? You can delegate and you can outsource, but what are you doing the first hour of every morning? That's the idea of the Money Morning, to build on your dream, to build on your future. Your money later. So check it out. I'll also put that link in the show notes and in the YouTube notes so that you have the ability to have something super, super cheap. It's only $7 to start meditating and changing and evolving. It's actually one of the things that helped me this year pivot faster through COVID, helped me be more efficient with my time. And oh, by the way, total transparency, I'm still on my journey. But it did unlock, between that and my coaches, it did unlock some serious realizations for me so that I can get back to the basics, get back to what I know is true for me is a balanced lifestyle. Because this is the only vessel that we get in this lifetime anyway. And it's really, really important for me that you guys think about this as part of my community. So if you saw value, please share this with your Facebook community, your LinkedIn community, your podcast communities, because it's really important. There's a lot of people hurting right now. And part of it is they just have way too much on their plate. And it's all about decluttering and coming back to your center, whatever that is for you. I'm not here to judge or tell you what to do, because I know sometimes when I listen to other people and it's not my own message, it's not my own truth, it sent me down a rabbit hole. So until next time, guys, here's to your best health, your best wealth, your best wisdom. If you enjoyed this, please leave a review. And oh, by the way, if you feel like you're struggling, if you would like a free 20-minute session with me, I will limit it to the first 5 people that reach out to my website, loiscoffey.com, and be happy to help you kind of process what I talked about today, because I know it's not easy. Because if it were easy, everyone would be doing it, right? All right, guys, take care. Be well. Bye-bye for now.
Hey guys, thank you so much for listening to this episode. If you enjoyed this, please subscribe, refer a friend, and please drop me a rating or a review. If you do that, I'll reward you with a free 20-minute free coaching session on crafting your journey to your best self. Reach out to me at lois@loiscoffey.com to claim your 20-minute slot. Until next time, be healthy, wealthy, and wise.